Surprisingly, so far, I have not strayed far from home on the Z10. Partly since I'm still learning, and partly due to the fact that there just have been a lot going on lately. But this week, we're gonna ride out to that far-flung outer borough where nothing ever happens, Queens. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. So Kelly worked in Flushing on Saturday and I usually drive her there. On this, the Piaggio MP3 500, a 500cc scooter with two wheels up front and a unique parallelogram steering column that allows it to lean like a regular motorcycle. It's a great scooter, super convenient in the city, but we won't be taking him today. Instead, we're going to take the good old subway. Many of the older stations, including our 2nd Avenue F stop, are only accessible via stairs. A bit of a pain if you have to lug a 50-pound wheel up and down, but riding the subway really is a love-hate relationship. There are the delays and overcrowding, but there's also the 7 train. It's a personal favorite since a large portion of its track through Queens is above ground with a front row view of a literal cross-section past some of the fastest changing part of New York City. Plans to have breakfast in Flushing, then get on the Z10 and head south through Flushing Meadow Park. Then Forest Park for some off-road action on the mountain bike trails, then back to Manhattan. Well, things didn't quite work out that way. After arriving at Flushing, having had a solid breakfast, and let me tell you, just about one of the best places for brunch in New York City, I was ready to start the ride. So this is week 3 of riding the Z10. I have been getting a little bit more confident with its capability as well as my control of it. I even managed to get it up to its maximum 28 miles per hour top speed on one of the shorter night rides. Although I'm actually not 100% sure since I don't have an accurate way of measuring my speed while I'm on the go and rely on my phone's GPS. But for various reasons, I actually never gone very far from home, and this is why I wanted to make this trip. So I haven't taken the Z10 off-road as of yet. I mean, on the island of Manhattan, there really are very little opportunities outside of patches of turf and the sprinkles of parks downtown very much like this. Of course, there is Central Park, where I have heard that some off-road trails do exist, but to tell the truth, I'm a bit skeptical given the size and popularity of the park. So we're gonna head south through Flushing Meadow Park, the site of the 1964 and 39 World Fair, where some of the architectural remnants still stands today. But before we continue on our way, here is a segment I can only call my random obsession of the week. My camera stick. This is how I shot most of my ride videos. And it works decently and allows for some interesting angles, but has a big problem. I actually have no way of seeing what it is I'm shooting. And for the most part, have to rely on dead reckoning by just looking at the camera and are shooting enough footage and hope that some of them are actually usable. So here's what I hope to be a solution. It's basically a heads-up display from a company called Viewfind that ran a successful Kickstarter campaign a few years ago. It's actually a really simple device. All it is a digital viewfinder, similar to the one that you would find in a mirrorless camera, connected to a small battery that keeps it power for about 90 minutes. I had it wired up to my Note 8, which in turn have the GoPro app running, with a live view pipe in via Wi-Fi from my GoPro 5. It's a pretty convoluted setup, but the screen seems sufficiently detailed for use as a viewfinder, and generally the setup works, sort of. So it still have a few bugs, like for instance the arm that's holding the screen can't seem to hold it in place steadily. Whenever I hit a bump, it tends to shift, which is a huge problem. You know, I'm gonna experiment with it a little bit more and see if I could find something that works for rides. Now, one thing great with Flushing Meadow is its size. Since it is originally a fairground and a garbage dump before that, it is flat and open. And in the winter month, not terribly popular, which is great for us in our little experiment. So when I used to teach rollerblading, one of the cardinal rules I have always stick by was to learn how to stop first. But with the Z10, I haven't really been following that rule, to tell you the truth. Now, in my excitement of riding the Z10, I actually haven't really gotten myself familiar with its braking pattern or practice emergency braking either. And honestly, I have gotten a few close calls because of that oversight. In addition, I also experienced on a few occasions what I can only describe as strange braking behavior. So the sensation is that of the brake suddenly gone soft and this ratcheting action as the motor rapidly switching between braking and not braking. Sort of like what an ABS brake would do when it's trying to gain traction. But in all instances, for me at least, there have been no issue with the surfaces. They had been dry and clean, so that wasn't really it. This happened twice on a steep downslope and once on basically flat road. Now, I have not had a crash due to this particular quirk. I've been trying to duplicate the issue and practice panic stopping at the same time, but I actually haven't been able to make it happen intentionally. So, no luck in figuring out the causes. But given all the open spaces available, I figured it's best I take advantage of it somehow, and thought that perhaps I can experiment with assisted braking. The setup is simple. We accelerate a set distance and see how quickly we can come to a stop. We'll do it 3 times each and compare the average distance between with and without assisted braking. And here is where things gone sideways, as they would say. I made 3 runs on normal setting and 2 more on assisted braking. No significant differences in braking distances, but on the 6th run, as I come across the bend, I lean in to accelerate and something goes wrong. I got tossed and landed face first into the curb on the far side of the path. Let's see that zoom in and slow motion, shall we? And I was not wearing a helmet. So I have fallen plenty previously, rollerblading, downhill mountain biking, and snowboarding. But the speed of this crash is more like a motorcycle crash, where you barely have enough time to register that something is wrong and no time at all for any reaction other than just taking the hit. So after that bloodletting, I figure it might be best to scratch the plan to take those mountain bike trails in forest parks. Nothing quite like a concrete curb to the face to knock some sense into you. So I turn west and head back towards the city on Queens Boulevard, where there's now a nice bike trail to follow. Now, I'm still kind of not sure exactly what happened. I generally don't go very fast. For that run, I was speeding up just to test the braking. So I was probably around 22, maybe 24 miles per hour. But I scoped out the road really well to make sure that it's flat, that there's no dips or any kind of weirdness. Somehow, for whatever reason, when I came around that last short bend, the Z10 slipped and then I went down. And then unfortunately there was a curve right up at the bend and I just hit my head right on it. You can kind of tell that my lip is a bit puffy because of the hit, and then also my forehead is swelling up as well. So don't be stupid like me, wear a full face helmet. That's what I'm going to do also. It was a steep and windy climb up to Long Island City. I was all of a sudden feeling quite unprotected without a helmet while trying to recall what my dental coverage had been. The ride past Queensboro Bridge was similarly slightly unnerving. It was extremely windy, and with my confidence shaken, I was feeling somewhat unsteady on the Z10. Funny enough, remembering that just 2 months ago I made the same crossing on the IPS I-5 with a fading battery, kind of sharing similar sentiments for very different reasons. The ride past Midtown was relatively uneventful, and I decided to head east on 23rd Street to the East Riverfront Park to get out of the traffic and take a route that I'm more familiar with. I was kind of cold, beaten up and contemplating my choices in writing the Z10 are picking up this whole hobby, as a matter of fact. But there's just something freaking magical with riding along the East River, seeing the bridge and the city in the distance with the sun slowly setting and the world taking on that magic hour glows. If it weren't for the electric unicycle, I would likely be home binging on yet another Netflix series. I would have been safe, warm, and still have all my teeth. But I wouldn't be here to see this. I guess I'll call my dentist and see what he can do. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe and like the video if you did. And until next week, thank you again.